Alright, for today's Best of 2023 for the Game Wisdom Awards, we are going to Metroidvanias, and we have a whole menagerie of Metroidvanias and double jumping to get to. Before we begin today's list, just a quick announcement. We do not have any musical guests lined up for the Best in Show, but if this video series can hit 10,000 likes by the time I record it, I'll put together my own little musical number. And I'm pretty sure I don't need to worry about this, because I'm also pretty sure that all of you watching this are too cowardly to hit that like button. So I should be perfectly in the clear. Alright, we have quite a number of runner-ups as well as listings for Metroidvania this year. This seemed to be the year of Metroidvanias, while last year was, well, the time of the Bullet Heavens. So there were so many I actually forgot a few. I had to re-record this episode. So let's start with Omnigon. This is a Metroidvania where you must use the power of hats and punching in order to steal the secrets of time travel. A game that is as weird as it is dry-witted, with some very unusual powers and the ability to transform characters into stuff. This is by no means a long Metroidvania, and that's what kind of keeps it from getting into the top listing. It is a very experimental one, and there's certainly something here. You're looking for a Metroidvania that kind of wanders somewhere off the beaten path and then starts throwing ladders up at everyone. Now, going from a very light Metroidvania to one that is very meaty, we have AfterImage. This is kind of like the full Igavania open world, go everywhere, find all the upgrades to all the side quests, raise that perk tree up kind of game. This one has a lot going on for it. It definitely goes for the jack of all trades, master of none approach. The aesthetics and art style are really well done. What keeps it from making it to the kind of top of the list is that while Omnigon was a very focused and short game, AfterImage is a very big but kind of unfocused one. It has that issue where the entire world is completely open to you, except you can't go everywhere, and the game gives you no hints or any recollection as to, okay, you need to go here to get the upgrade, to go there, to go over here, to get the upgrade over here, to go here, to then fight that, to then go over here. This is not the Metroidvania you want to play if you're looking for something to be over in a weekend. This is a very lengthy game. Now, it did receive balance patches and updates between when we played it and then kind of at 1.0, so I don't know if they've done any more refining to it since then. But if you're looking for a very lengthy Metroidvania with all the upgrades, double jumping, and slashing that you want, then definitely check this one out. Our next two Metroidvanias in the run-up category both kind of fall into the, I guess, dependable side of the Metroidvania tree, and our first one is 9 Years of Shadow. This is a color-infused, musically rich Metroidvania where you explore a world that is devoid of color, thanks to a curse, and you must use the power of colors, magical armor, and music in order to bring back color, save the world, beat the curse, and save the day and all that. The aesthetics and kind of music design are really well done. I love the kind of like gooey and portrait arts for this game. This one doesn't really do anything above and beyond as a Metroidvania. It's probably the only Metroidvania out there where there is no real need to backtrack, as you can usually get everything you need in a single run. This one, you can probably get it finished in a single weekend. So, while a lot of the Metroidvanias on this list have been experimental or will do something differently in their own unique way, this one doesn't quite do that. It is a very solid, very dependable Metroidvania. So if you're looking for one that's going to give you a very short and sweet time, then you should look into it. Speaking about short and sweet and a very dependable Metroidvania, our next one is Ebenezer and the Invisible World, the sequel to A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer goes around getting into bizarre adventures and fighting ghosts. Like our last one, this one doesn't quite go above and beyond any particular category other than the aesthetics and some of the art looks really nice, especially some of the background environments. There's a really great game here, some polish issues here and there, and it's one of those games where you're going into this to get a very well executed, but not kind of above and beyond Metroidvania. So, if you're in the mood for something for the holidays that involves double jumping, finding power ups, and beating up ghosts, then you should look into this one. For the last runner up, this is one that we played almost like a week before the end of the year, and that is Cookie Cutter, the punk rock, very violent and very over the top infused Metroidvania. In this one, we are trying to save our girlfriend in a post-dystopian future where everything has been turned into machines called Denzels. And to do that, we are going to rip and tear in all manner of ways. If our last game was the perfect holiday fun for the whole family game, Cookie Cutter is not. This is the one you're not going to play when there's kids around. The animation and art style is incredibly well done. This game shows some very brutal things, which I guess is okay since most of the enemies we're fighting are of the robot or monster variety. What keeps it from making it to the top of the list is that it does feel a little unfocused in areas. There's a lot of space that's just you going around. And a lot of the bosses feel more health spongy than they need to be. Still, there's a really solid Metroidvania, especially one if you're looking for a more combat-centric Metroidvania as opposed to being more movement and tech-based. So you don't mind, well, a lot of blood and a whole lot of violence, then you should give this cookie a check. Alright, it's not a top 3 or a top 5. We have 6 different Metroidvanias that each kind of did something unique or different that are worth it to make it to my best of lists. And we're going to start it off with Angel's Gear. This is a Metroidvania from the developer Scumhead, who did Vomitorium, the first-person shooter Doom Metroidvania-like that I enjoyed from a few years ago. And they're back with a very unusual and surprisingly grounded take on Metroidvania. You are the last human in a world that has been destroyed and corrupted by a strange interdimensional being. And you are going to have to save the day by collecting upgrades, experiencing ever greater layers of body horror, and ripping and tearing until it is done. What separates Angel's Gear from a lot of the other Metroidvanias we've played is that while there is movement and jump tech, everything has this more weighty feel to it. There's a sense of committed jumping. You're still getting upgrades. You're still changing how your character behaves from beginning to middle to end. But it's all thrown through this very weird and eldritch filter of what this game is about. This is a Metroidvania you're going to play if you're looking for something that is definitely off the beaten path, and one where you're not going to be bothered by disturbing sights and things being destroyed in all manner of ways. It is very short if you're just going through it from beginning to end, but there's definitely something here to be inspired by if you're looking for a more combat-centric Metroidvania where jumping is not always your primary gameplay loop. And speaking about another different take on Metroidvania design, our next pick is Worldless. This is a Metroidvania meets turn-based combat. In a world that's being smooshed together by different dimensions, you must team up with your other dimensional self in order to figure out what's going on, and that's going to involve a lot of jumping, dashing, and tech. The kind of twist of Worldless, despite the fact that most of it is told without dialogue, is that every fight is a fixed encounter and turns into this almost like rhythm minigame as you're trying to defeat the enemy by figuring out what kind of attacks they're weak to and doing enough to kind of absorb them in order to gain permanent perk tree bonuses. Very unusual take. It's a little janky in spots, especially trying to find your way around and some of the kind of endgame challenges. But like Angel's Gear, there is something here in terms of a unique take on Metroidvania design. definitely one to play, again, if you're not looking for something that is traditional or something that you've already played before. And if you don't mind a little bit of weirdness here and there with how the UI and just general gameplay is, very solid recommendation. We now have another unique Metroidvania with MF01 Aerostrike. This is a Metroidvania meets Bullet Hell Shmup, a Shmupavania. And that is really nice to say, rolls off the tongue really well. In this one, you're not playing as a character on the ground, but a pilot in a spaceship. And when your ship gets, or your base gets attacked by pirates and mercenaries, you're going to have to fly around, collect upgrades, and try not to get blown out of the sky by, well, lots and lots of bullets. Because you are obviously flying around, there's no need to worry about getting a double jump. So you'll gain upgrades around different movement or kind of movement-based dodging and defense, more weapons, and you'll need to explore the base trying to destroy everything that gets in your way. Now, all the Metroidvanias we're showing, this is definitely the one that has, I would say, like the weakest in terms of aesthetics and art style, but don't be put off by it. Like the other games I've mentioned, if you're a fan of Metroidvania design and looking to play one that is completely different from the rest of the market, then this is a very solid recommendation. For our next pick, this is one that, while the gameplay is pretty standard, its art and aesthetics are anything but, and that is Blasphemous 2, the sequel to the religious brutality Metroidvania. Well, not really a Metroidvania. The first game I would say is more of an action-adventure title, as you really didn't get upgrades or things that kind of changed how you really moved and experienced the game. However, for the sequel, the developers have certainly grown and added that in, as you now will get access to different kinds of movement tech, weapon tech, and multiple weapons. I really like having the different weapons each be their own kind of puzzle solver and being able to swap between them, level them up, and so on. The art style is once again beautifully disturbing, although I'm sure there's some polarizing discussions as to their use of, I guess it would be considered like almost like computer generated or more, I guess like high quality, not so pixel art for the various cutscenes. Now, with Blasphemous 2, it definitely does not have the same amount of content as the first game did, but again, Blasphemous 1 received months of updates and collabs. I hope we see more from this one, as it's always great to explore this beautifully disturbing world. So, if you enjoyed the first game or are looking for a whole lot of disturbing imagery and brutality in your Metroidvanias, then this is a great one to check out. And now, we turn to Rusted Moss, a grappling Metroidvania. Very similar in terms of its look and kind of the general aesthetic to the Momodora franchise, this game is not exactly about sword swinging or leaf swinging as those games. Here you play as someone who's trying to help the Fae folk bring about the age of their kind by, well, ruining humanity. And you're going to use the magical power of gun in order to do that. You'll make use of your gun as well as your kind of spirit helper who's also your grappling device to swing and bungee around the land looking for upgrades, enemies, and quests to complete. This is by far the most of the movement and kind of advanced tech in that respect when it comes to 2D Metroidvanias that I've played this year. Once you get used to the swing of things, pun intended, there is a lot of potential for sequence breaking, finding secrets, and just making yourself feel like a 2D spider bungee woman as you explore this weird and kind of decaying world. Combat is on the harder side, as you'll need to make use of the physics of the grappling while trying to dodge, shoot, and do more dodging around. There are multiple endings, lots of secrets to find, and a very well executed take on a different style of movement tech. So if you like swinging and shooting with your Metroidvanias, I know I couldn't think of a M word to end that example on, then this is a very easy recommendation. And for the last game, and this is definitely one of my favorites, not just of Metroidvanias but of this year, we have Pseudoregalia, the only 3D Metroidvania on this list, and one of the few 3D Metroidvanias we've actually seen over the past 20 years. You are trapped in a castle in a dream. In order to wake up and get out, you must do a whole lot of jumping, wall running, and combining as many different techs as one can imagine to escape. The platforming in this one is, I would say, masterclass. And it's all thanks to the variety of movement-based abilities you'll get. You'll get a double jump. You'll get wall jumping, wall running, long jumping. Being able to do like a kind of super bounce in the air. And the game just keeps throwing more and more at you, and the castle goes from being this oppressive place you're trying to get out of into just basically a 3D platforming dream parkour event, as you'll be able to explore all around, finding secrets and the right ways to go, or complete shortcuts. If you're someone who loves like movement tech combination in your platforming, 100% guaranteed easy recommendation. This is the Metroidvania for someone who really got into the whole advancement of Super Mario Odyssey. Just all kinds of ways to get involved in this one, while it is still somewhat on the shore side and a bit hard, or a bit easy I should say, to get lost in it. Just a fantastic example, not just of 3D platforming, but of how you do a incredible Metroidvania. Again, this is top of the mark for me for this year, and you need to play this one if you enjoy your Metroidvanias. And with that, another episode wraps up. Remember, do all that liking if you want to hear a musical number for the best of show. And if you think that today's entry is long, oh, just wait until we get to platformers and roguelikes. You might want to bring a snack and maybe like have a little rest before you watch those videos. So was there a Metroidvania that you enjoyed, that you think deserves a place on a best of list? Let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games.